Build compelling real-time apps quickly and scale them globally with the PubNub real-time network. Only PubNub delivers the core building blocks needed for any real-time application. Find out for yourself by signing up for free today. Visit pubnub.com. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 137. We're recording this live July 5th, 2013. That's a Friday afternoon. My name, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, home of the stunned Ottawa Senators. Boy, what a day. What a day. Asif, I hope your day is going better than ours.
So far, so good. I'm on holiday tomorrow, so I'm just in cruise mode here.
Cruise mode. Wow.
Yeah. Anyhow.
So this is
Yes, Asif Khan, for those who don't know me, from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Yes, located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, laughing hysterically at the fact that our captain has abandoned our ship. The Ottawa Senators just announced recently, like moments ago, that the Senators lost the bidding campaign on Daniel Alfredson. He's going to Detroit, apparently, and it's reminiscent of the good old days with Matt Sundin went to Vancouver and didn't fare very well. So, no. Bad days. Tough day in Ottawa.
I wish you better success, though.
Well, he's 17 years he's played with the Senators, his entire career, 18 years, his entire career, 14 years as the captain. I'm not sure what happened, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. That seems to be a fireable offense. If ever there was one. How do you screw that up? But we're not here to talk about hockey, although it's in top of mind. We're here to talk about location-based marketing, pervasive computing, and this whole world that is emerging in this space, this global world. And we've got quite the show for you today. We've got typical 6 stories, great resource. We've got a great guest from Thumbvista. It's Linden Skeens, who is going to come in and talk to Asif about their company, Thumbvista. And I've got a very, I don't know if this is a bitch or a complaint or a suggestion, but my app observation, instead of an app of the week, it's an app observation. We'll jump into that. Is there anything going on with you at the Location-Based Marketing Association over the next 2 weeks, Asif?
No, we're actually finally in a quiet mode for a couple weeks anyways. I'm off for the next couple weeks. We won't stop the show, of course. We keep doing that, but I've got one little speaking thing coming up in the middle of the holiday. I got to go over to the Capitol Hill and talk to some NASA and DoD folks and talk about GPS and the role it plays in the consumer and marketer and brand stuff. So something like that. I don't know.
Got to figure it out before you get there, though?
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
You got a long drive down there anyways. Well, it's going to be well worth it. The vacation is a long time coming based on your travel schedule this past year. So I can't wait to have you unwind and go and play some golf.
Exactly.
Well, good. So nothing going on, and certainly there is tons going on in this industry. And I want to start. I just spent a weekend camping. We go up kind of yearly to this place called Palmer Rapids. It's in Ontario. It's up in the kind of upper Madawaska. It's a whitewater camp. So basically, you camp. It's car camping, and then we got a great 2 chutes of rapids that we go through. A bunch of canoes. My brother organizes this all the time. And I was using my. I thought this would be a good test to take my great iPhone here and test 4 different GPS applications to get up there, get down, and use it while we're up there for any kind of hiking or anything that we were doing. So the test was this. I used Waze, I used the Apple Maps, I used Google Maps, and I used Navigon, which is a downloadable application that at one point I spent $100 on, and I think now it's probably $5. But I used all 4 of those. 3 of those, 2 of those don't have any offline access, right? So Waze and iOS maps do not have offline access. Google apparently has offline access as well, or cached access. And Navigon is a complete downloaded solution. So you download the app, and then you download the province or the city or the country that you're interested in navigating to. And results should not be staggering for you guys here, but I did this just for you, fine listener, and you, Asif, and to see which one was the best one. And up in northern Ontario, north of, this little town called Griffith, in the middle of the woods, lo and behold, no signal. It's a shocker. I understand that. Most of Canada up there is not covered at all. The outcome was painful to use all three applications except for Navigon, the one that was downloaded. And this is a huge, valuable lesson, is that all three of them could get me where I needed to go with relative ease. There was not a variance of time. They all took me down the same path, although the iOS app always wanted me to veer towards Eganville, which is an alternative path. But Navigon, iOS, Waze, as did Google, got me there well. About 2 hours into the ride, about half an hour away from Palmer Rapids, all three that relied on internet access, done. Kaput. No access. Google Maps was the only one that kept me on a path, but if anything had changed, if I had stopped or wanted another destination, it was dead. Navigon, he's like a workhorse, basically. Got me there because the maps were downloaded. So that was one test. They all got me there in relative ease. While I was up there, we said, listen, we got to go into a town to get some groceries or whatever. So I punched them all in, obviously, into all four of them. And the only one that functioned at that point was the offline map. This is logic. You guys know this. But the lesson is astounding here, because despite $1 billion being spent on Waze, this battle of the maps being put on by Google and iOS and everybody else, without offline, without a connection, these things are useless, and people use these. Lo and behold, when you travel in different countries, or when you travel up north where there's no signals, or anywhere where there's no signal, which happens quite a bit, they are useless. They're bricked. They bricked my phone, except for Navigon, which is a downloadable version. And I think that is a very significant thing when you're building out your product. And it relies on location, and it relies on people finding you via these other APIs, via the internet, is that you have to remember that there's a small portion, maybe 25% of the people that are going to be using this at some point are going to be in and out of connectivity. You have to give them an offering. You have to be able to enable them in it, or else it ruins the experience. So I completely deleted Navigon until this point again. Now it is back to being my primary navigation source, as opposed to Waze and as opposed to iOS and Google. And it's because of that. It's because of the core offline. And the map for Ontario, they did it great. They took it and they broke it down by province. So you can get, you download the application, and then I can download the province that I want to, just the province. So just Ontario or just New York State that I want to navigate towards, and then I can delete it when it's no longer necessary. It's a 40 meg download, and it makes your life so easy because you don't have to worry about data charges or connectivity issues. And boy, what an experiment!
Well, and it speaks to, I completely agree with your sentiment, and it speaks to the fact that there's still a market for the old Garmin, TomTom device world. Yep. In fact, I have a Garmin. We're heading on the road trip on tomorrow. I spent last night downloading the latest maps on my Garmin because
you're going to the US.
Exactly that, right? Yeah. I don't want to be spending time on data roaming charges on my phone and this, that, and the other thing when I'm on the road. I still have my Garmin on because the van that we're taking down doesn't have a built-in one. So I still have that portable unit, uploaded all and downloaded all the new maps last night, ready to go. So. Yeah,
big difference. And so for all of you guys that are out there that think that everybody's connected, think again. And while it's great to have that social layer on top of all these maps and places and businesses and everything that we talk about here, the number one thing that it has to provide, if you're in this location business, is location. And if you cannot connect to the internet and you cannot provide location, it falls at that point. And especially what Asif said, you don't want to be going into the US, or if you're in the US coming up to Canada and getting hammered by the cost of these. Many people don't know that when they launch Google Maps, or they launch iOS Maps, or they launch any mapping, even Waze, is that it is a data-intensive application. So do yourself a favor. Go find a standalone application if you're going to leave the country. But that was my experience. And I don't think it was a shocker to anybody, but it just shows you the importance of connectivity now. And if you don't have it, well, you're kind of screwed. So that's my app observation. That's what happened this week. So very cool. And not so cool, but I did get home on time, and we had a great time up there. So if you're ever in the area, go up to Palmer Rapids, North Madawaska River. All right, so what do you say we jump into these stories? Asif, we got some great, fascinating stories here, like unique stories. And this first one involving Pinterest and Nordstrom is exactly what we've talked about many times on the show, is about this convergence of the digital world with physical world, and providing access to products that people are interested in at the time of purchase in these physical stores. So why don't you talk about Pinterest working with Nordstrom? This is pretty cool.
This is really interesting because, so much of the focus around Pinterest has been the consumer experience and the use of Pinterest as a tool to, take photos of things that you like, post them to boards, share them with other people, and kind of that the viral social sharing aspect of what Pinterest is. But now like Pinterest is sitting there going, like Foursquare that we'll talk about later, we got to start making money off this thing. We got all these users, we got all these images, we got all these boards. That's great, but how do we start making money? And so this is an interesting partnership here. Nordstrom being maybe the first of many brands to start, kind of looking at all these items that have been pinned. Are they sold in our stores? And how do we create, that relationship between, stuff that's popular in Pinterest that people have been pinning, and the fact that product's actually available for sale in my store. So what they've done is they've looked on these boards and they've identified products that are available in their stores, and there's some samples in some of the media around this, around shoes and things like that. And now, when you go into a Nordstrom store and you go to the shoe department and you see a pair of shoes, right next to the pair of shoes is the Pinterest logo right there, physically in the store, telling you that this is a popular item on Pinterest.
Love it.
That's really interesting. I mean, just the simple association of that logo that's so well known within the consumer world, that Pinterest logo, and telling you that not only might you like this pair of shoes, this is popular, out there. And you don't have to launch an app or do anything with your phone or anything. It's just that association of logo, brand, and item all coming together, and obviously you can go check it out afterwards and see, yes, it is on Pinterest, but they're taking that, stuff, whatever's popular on Pinterest, and saying, hey, this is in my store. I can drive sales by making that connection, and let's do it.
And the only piece missing for me, is that really true location piece, which is that if I have on Pinterest, like that bag or like those shoes, then there's some way to close that gap with my local store, saying, hey, we have that here. Yeah. Come on and get it, because we noticed that you actually are one of the people that like this thing. So
yeah, and I think that's the next step, right? It's one thing, like, I mean, obviously any retailer who sees their stuff on a Pinterest board can go and create a tent card with the Pinterest logo and throw it beside the product in the store, right? But the connection, as you say, is exactly that. It is to when you go on the Pinterest site and you see that product, to then see the Nordstrom logo there that says, okay, go to Nordstrom, and you can see it there. And I think that's where the opportunities are gonna start to happen for a revenue stream for Pinterest.
Isn't that funny though, that it's like it's Nordstrom leveraging the Pinterest brand, not Pinterest leveraging the Nordstrom brand? Like that's the shift that's here. And what they say is that when it comes to the Nordstrom social channels, 4.5 million people follow Nordstrom on Pinterest versus just over 2 million on Facebook and less than 1 million on Twitter. So this is a huge channel, more than 2 times the activity or the number of followers than Facebook. So Nordstrom understands this as a very, very, very relevant social channel for them. And I think it's, that tie-in is going to be great. And if you're not doing this, if you're a business and you're selling a product that is popular on Pinterest, is exactly what Asif just gave you, a great strategy, which is just put the Pinterest logo right next to it, and it'll go, that brand recognition will go very far in helping you sell those products. And that's just a little bit of strategy right there. Free. We should have charged for this episode.
There you go.
Well, I think that's more of this is going to happen. This cross, we talked about Shopify doing the Popify, which is the pop-up store, bringing their e-tailers in for doing real-time, in a real bricks and mortar store for the first time for many of them. And this crossover is bound to happen. And in fact, Harley.
By the way, while you mentioned Shopify, I didn't bring it up last week on my sort of recap from Asia experience. But when I was over there, the first thing that happened to me was I was in this session with all these companies from Canada that were with me, and all the trade commissioners and all these government officials and people from Singtel and StarHub and all this kind of stuff. And the guy from Singtel got up and gave his presentation on the kind of the future of mobile and location and where they were going. And almost, I think, like in the first 5 minutes of his presentation was, and we just signed this deal with Shopify, and we're going to be rolling this thing out. So there you go, like North American technology, making its way, across the pond into Singapore in this case.
So small worlds. It would have been Harley Finkelstein that was in that room as they made that announcement with Singtel, and he was he was doing a European tour. And if you watched the episode last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about the smog that had descended on Singapore, it was Harley's photo that I used. He was there at the same time as you were. So it's it's always a small world when it comes to this industry. But
yes.
All right, our second story here. We talked about Google flying balloons up into the stratosphere to offer Wi-Fi to underprivileged or underconnected countries or emerging economies. How about an e-tailer or a retailer flying balloons to give Wi-Fi for coupons in Korea? Same impact?
Totally different objective.
Yeah, but flying devices, the flying store,
different impact, much smaller scale. But so we're talking about eMart, and eMart is and their agency Chail, which is constantly driving innovation. So eMart are the guys who, kind of did the QR codes in public spaces generated, where the blacks in the QR codes were generated by shadows from the sunlight. Same agency, same brand that did that. Now what they're doing is they're flying basically balloons over public squares again, in shopping centers and in train stations and wherever they can. These balloons have Wi-Fi routers built into them. And so they encourage you, as you see the thing, to connect to the Wi-Fi that's in this moving balloon. And when you do so, it basically gives you deals and coupons and stuff on your phone that you can then redeem either in their. You can shop online directly from the experience. So they have a big eMart has a big online store, and the way their online store works is like a lot of grocery. You order your products and it's delivered to your house and all that kind of stuff. But they also have vouchers that you can download in this experience that you can then go in physically into the store and redeem. And some great numbers from this already. So maybe you can share that.
Yeah, they were talking about the impact of this has been staggering. Like, at first blush, I thought, oh my God, like, having this balloon, they basically covered all of South Korea, right? Like they've flown everywhere in all these different locations. It's so fascinating. But people connect and they download an application and they go through this. But the numbers are amazing. And they said that the eMart's sales on eMart Store, while they've been doing this, have increased 157%. And in-store sales with these redeemable vouchers that Asif was talking about is up 9.5% as a result of this idea. So at first you think, oh, this is silly. But and in the second blush is that, well, silly sometimes leads to good revenue. And what we're talking about here is an increase. And so,
and they had the same kind of, not the exact same numbers, but same kind of impact off of the shadow QR code campaign and others. I mean, either people just love eMart, or Koreans just love crazy stuff, or like this, and are like these fun experiences and embrace them. One or the other or both. I mean, this stuff is working.
Well, it's good on them. Like this is the kind of innovation that we'd have to see. Now, I mean, I've never seen one of these little flying stores floating around, right? But they said that people want to go to eMart. It's like as you would associate with a name like a Walmart type of store, where it's a discount store for lower income. Yeah. And but people are just they never get there. They go and buy the product from a local, like a corner store, and pay a premium. And so by adding an incentive like this, discounts or coupons to be able to drive people into the stores, people are actually going in. And when you talk about redeeming coupons or being able to buy on the spot, it makes a big difference. I mean, conversion is very important at the point of inference, right? Which are the point of influence where they're thinking about it, get them to buy, and that's what these guys are doing. So very cool. eMart, the flying store in South Korea. Why don't we see this kind of stuff? Would this work in North America?
Yeah, I think so. I think in certain markets like New York, and you fly this over Times Square, people will do it.
I don't know. I think people would duck or shoot it down.
I don't think so. I don't.
What is that?
I mean, you need a couple thousand permits to get the thing to happen. First of all, but I think in certain markets this would work, in the U.S. and in Canada. For sure.
I think about Macy's Labor Day Parade, right? Which would be what I think would be the perfect opportunity to do something like this, because you've got all these brands on display. Do something like this within the exhibits or the floats, so that you could actually then sell direct or do something with it. Get people to download coupons from the Macy's Day Parade floats or something to that extent. There's something there. I know that there is, but And all inspired by eMart, the flying store in South Korea. We can learn a lot from what's going on outside of our own little boundaries.
Absolutely.
All right, so you know what? There used to be this thing called an address, Asif, where I'd type in an address and I'd say, like, this is where I need to go. And then, but before that, there was even like a longitude and latitude. When I was using Google Maps, the early editions of the API, you actually had to convert that yourself. You had to go to these services to be able to type in an address, and then it would output a longitude and latitude. That's what you would use in Google Maps in the API. So there was all of this kind of stuff. Then people realized that it's very difficult to remember addresses or bar names or restaurant names. So this company that is our third story, which is What 3 Words, is basically creating a DNS system for postal codes or for location. So instead of remembering an address, you have to remember 3 words, random 3 words.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really interesting. So they basically, as they've described, taken the entire globe and broken it into 57 trillion 3-meter squared boxes.
57 trillion.
And each of these boxes is denoted by three unique words from the English dictionary.
What intern had that job? It's a terrible job.
I'm hoping they use some kind of randomizing, engine.
I've been working on this for 19 years. Yes.
Yeah. I punched in the LBMA office, and so our address is Speech Lobster Trumpet.
Speech Lobster Trumpet. I like it a lot. Speech is accurate. Trumpet is accurate. I'm not sure where the lobster comes in.
I don't know, but anyhow, it's an interesting premise. I mean, basically, what they're suggesting is that. Inefficiencies in the postal code system in terms of, a new business gets set up, it takes a while for postal codes to get assigned, and things like that in some cases, or especially when new subdivisions are built for houses and things like that. So there's a time lag issue that can be addressed by a system like this is one argument. The second argument, obviously, is GPS itself in terms of latitude and longitude. Isn't as accurate as this, or isn't as finite as this. Now, that will change. In fact, the conference that I alluded to earlier that I'm going down to speak at in about a week, part of that is the entire GPS system that's out there today. The satellites that are out there today that we use for GPS are being upgraded, and the accuracy will improve significantly. So, but currently there is there's a gap there of accuracy. So there is some value to this. I mean, I question how you can go about marketing this, and whether this is something that brands and businesses in general are even going to be willing to consider.
Yeah, I mean, their business model is to charge you about $1.50 to instead of going to 3 words to solidify a location with 1 word. But they control it, and like it harkens back to the early days of the domain name system, which was you had groupings of numbers. That was how you routed to websites, and then that's obviously not something that everybody wanted to remember, so they went to the DNS. And we talked about maybe early in this show, maybe in the episodes 30, around that range, where we talked about a company that was very interested in becoming the domain name service for location by doing something similar to this. And we haven't heard from those guys again since those days, which was almost 2 years ago. So I like this, but I still think that this is an interim solution, because you've got companies, and I'm not saying that these guys win, but you've got companies like Twist that obfuscate location completely and just put, I invite you to our meeting, and then it routes you to that place, without me telling you where that location is. I say, look, I'm going to John's Diner, and Pete is coming with me. So I invite Pete into the thing, and then he doesn't even. It doesn't matter that he doesn't need to know the location. He just follows it on a GPS, right? So, like when you get into that, and I'm sure that there's going to be a point in time when Google Maps or iOS Maps or any of the other mapping software are going to be so social that I can invite you to a location if we're going to be going to the same place. I don't have to send you a coordinate or an address, and I think that kind of makes this not relevant. But in the interim, I think it's fine. It's not something that I would use, though, I find. But I like the thinking that, listen, it's time to rethink the way that we look at location.
Yeah, and you know, back when we talked about this issue a couple of years ago, and from the LBMA's perspective as a
Right.
nonprofit body, we were talking about, you know, putting together a system around this. But for us, it's wider than just businesses and things like this. You know, I mean, when I look at it, it's about every object out there being geo tagged and addressable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so, for example, it's not just to say, and the reason we brought up the issue back then well, you had a growing number of systems all logging businesses, places, if you will, in databases and storing them in proprietary formats. So Foursquare has their database, and a lot of that content is user generated. Then you got Goala had their own, Facebook has their own, Google has their own, et cetera, et cetera. And all of them treated as proprietary, no sharing, no common domain registry for those places. That's a problem. So now you have a system like this. But if you expand it even beyond just buildings, right, and you start to say, well, in our world of connected media, well, the billboard itself that happens to be across the street from that building should have an address. Yeah. What is it? Right? So if we can bring that, I like the thinking, like you, and if we can bring the accuracy down to a meter, which is what they're talking about if you buy the single word thing, so we can name that billboard, you know, based on this thing. That's interesting. But where's the sort of API that allows for, you know, sharing and interaction with all the other systems, right? That's, you know, what we need to get to.
And there hasn't been a solution for that yet, because if you use something like Foursquare to find a location, and it's so user generated, that spot that you're trying to get to can be on any of one of the four corners based on who puts it in there and based on accuracy of GPS. And so you're right. There's no data normalization across all of these location databases, and that is a big challenge. And if this is a derivative or a form of what these guys are doing, can facilitate that could win. But I'm not necessarily sure that there's a revenue model.
You can't have the issue is, and you know, we've tried, you know, like to bring. We actually we held a meeting 2 years ago with Google, Yahoo, Yelp, Facebook, Foursquare, all in the room together, moderated by me, and others, and said, this is the issue. You all have proprietary systems. What can we do to kind of harmonize and bring this stuff together? Everybody agrees with the notion. Nobody wants to do it because their business models are all there. And here you have another one that has a business model. It's a commercial, you know, entity here that has to make money somehow. You know, unless this is done by third-party, nonprofit, you know, unbiased group, it doesn't work.
No, this is going to be a challenge, and you never want to be the company that does this, tries to make a business model out of it and fails, but builds a database and then and everybody else leverage it. And that's what we saw with Foursquare. That's what you see with all these location guys that don't have a business model or a revenue model associated with it. They're doing they're doing something for the greater good, not the best for their bank accounts.
Yeah, but the notion of what these guys are doing is awesome. I love it. So, you know, kudos to them for trying to do that. You know, and obviously anything we can do, guys, if you're listening, to support it, we're there. We'd
love to.
Reach out to us, let us know.
What3words.com. That's the3words.com if you're interested in it. And I just pulled up Yankee Stadium, for example, and it's potato gently unique. Potato gently unique. I should have just be like Derek Jeter rules, but... All right, so those are the first three stories. We are going to pause for a moment and dive into a conversation that Asif had with Linden Skeens from Thumbvista. You want to set this up, Asif?
Yeah, you know, Thumbvista is a relatively new player on the block. Sat down with Linden Skeens. He's the founder of this company, and talked about, you know, they just launched a new platform. Talked about, you know, offers and you know, a bunch of things evolving around the offer, location-based offer ecosystem. And so here it is, Linden Skeens. Well, it's that time, again, where we get to bring on a special guest. And this week, it's Linden Skeens, who's the owner and founder of Thumbvista. Linden, welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, as we normally do, for those who aren't familiar with Thumbvista, you've been in the news a little bit lately with a new product, but who are you guys?
We are a mobile marketing and advertising company. Our latest specialty is a dashboard we developed for location-based messaging. Some of the latest enhancements that have been in the news have been the added demographic targeting. So not only can the users of our dashboard geofence and send a location-based message, but also now they can send a little bit more targeted based on certain demographics that they place in to an opt-in form through our dashboard.
Okay, so you're not like every other geofencing, location-based targeting coupon platform out there. The key for you is the demographics piece. Is that right?
That's the latest enhancement, and that's what sets the differential of what makes us a little bit different than everybody else.
And so what's your background in the space? What prompted you to create Thumbvista in the first place?
It initially came about as I worked with a marketing and advertising team for a consulting company. We developed mobile marketing for small to mid-sized businesses, and just the need for a more targeted message has been out there. So first with the location-based messaging and geofencing, just to deliver a real-time relevant message to consumers, and then just made sense to make it even more targeted. That way it's even more relevant for both the business owner, which would be the marketer, the sender of the message, and then the receiving end of it. The more relevant the message, obviously, the more effective we feel, and that's what really the consumer is looking for. Is they don't mind getting mobile coupons and mobile messaging just as long as it's relevant to them. And what makes it more relevant than something with particular to their demographics and particular their location at the time they're at that location.
Cool. Now you're based in St. Louis, Missouri. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that what's the community like there around mobile and tech startups in this space? Is there a burgeoning scene happening there?
Yeah, absolutely. St. Louis has been recently in the news of being a fastly growing tech city. We have different technologies emerging. There is some indoor messaging and geofencing companies here as well as us at Thumbvista. And we do see the Midwest growing in that regards, along with obviously Chicago. Obviously, it's a little definitely on the West Coast is going to be a little bit more ahead of the game, but we definitely feel that we're growing and becoming a force to be reckoned with in the technology game.
And help me out here a little bit. So much of the what we cover at the LBMA and what we see in the news, in things like Mobile Marketer and Gig Home and some of these publications are what the big brands are doing in leveraging location-based platforms. But you're coming at this from the small medium business segment. Is that a segment that you would say is still underserved? That like there's still a lot of opportunity for for you and for others?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the mid-size. If you do have multiple locations, but yet you're still a local type company, there's definitely the users that would love to be able to engage with you at the right time in the right place. We feel that definitely that there's the way to capitalize on that. The big brands are obviously just now getting into it as well. So I feel that we could help both big and small companies alike. But when it comes down to the mobile user doesn't necessarily, if the message is going to be beneficial to them, they don't necessarily care if it's going to be a big brand or a local company. If it's relevant, it's relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. So always about relevance and value to the end consumer. And if you can meet that sort of base level equation, then there's a certain level of acceptance, I guess, from the consumer in wanting to receive those kinds of communications and offers and such. So as you're going out knocking on doors and talking to people about your platform and stuff, paint for me just a picture from your own perspective of, what else are people looking for in this space beyond, being able to better target and provide something of relevance? Is there other complementary technologies that you see yourselves partnering with or adding in the future, payments or anything like that, for example?
Yeah, I have been approached by different types of media in regards to location and the messaging type services. So not necessarily just linking to a coupon, but it could be linking to audio. So for instance, could be some form of audio messaging or even video messaging. This could be a good fit with. That's just one thing that comes to mind. I think that the space itself is going to be constantly evolving over the coming months, and even further than that. But that's where it is right now with social media and working together with location-based services. It just there's constantly new things coming about that I think is going to be beneficial to the end consumer.
Excellent. Well, again, for our audience, we've been chatting today with Linden Skeens, who's the owner and founder of Thumbvista. Linden, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing some insights and telling us a little bit about your platform. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
So again, thanks to Linden for coming on and sharing with us. We really appreciate that. Sorry we couldn't get all the video working out and we had to go with the audio this time, but we appreciate your time anyways.
Yes. Thank you, Linden, very much for participating in This Week in Location-Based Marketing. If you're interested, go to thumbvista.com. That's thumbvista.com. Thanks, Linden. All right, back into the stories here, Asif. This is, we have... A revolution is happening in retail as a result of location and as a result of the democratization of the technology that used to be very expensive, that was very limited in use because the setups were very expensive and extensive. And now, all it takes is a laptop and a modified Xbox Connect, and all of a sudden you've got something that looks at shopping behaviors. This is a company called Shopperception that takes 3D models based on all this stuff and does what with it, man? This is far out stuff that a year ago we would never have been able to do inside of a store.
No, I mean we talked a lot about the market around indoor location and analytics and how important that's going to be and how much retailers are already embracing it. And just to comment on the globalization of all this stuff in location, this company Shah Perception is in Argentina. Okay, so this stuff is everywhere, guys. And so what these guys have done is they've taken some technology from a company called PrimeSense. And PrimeSense are the guys who actually developed the sensors in the Microsoft Kinect technology. So all that stuff that detects our movements and our gestures and all that stuff in Kinect that we love, for those of us who use it or play games on it or anything like that, that was developed by a company called PrimeSense. And PrimeSense didn't stop with Kinect. They've continued to evolve their technology. New 3D sensors. They can measure much smaller movements now than they could with the original Kinect stuff. Much greater accuracy. And because of that, the way that PrimeSense works is they open up their technology or license their technology and SDKs and things like that. They're not a brand that people know. They're an enabler. And so Shah Perception took that technology and basically have created a platform for retail applications around that. And a lot of the indoor stuff we've talked about up until now is really based on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or tracking movements of people in the store. This stuff is all about understanding when somebody's standing in front of a shelf and looking at a specific product. So they know, using this technology, that you just picked up that box of cereal. That's how accurate this kind of stuff can be. Which is amazing, and when that happens, they can then present you, with an offer to influence a purchase decision, to actually buy that cereal or buy the competitor's brand or whatever the case might be. But we're talking about finite, engagement models based on exactly what you're looking at or exactly what you're picking up from a shelf. So this is shelf level indoor location.
Is there an easier way to do this than other? I'm not saying that this is complicated, but to outfit an entire store with this would be a challenge. I would say, like, this is a prototype of technology, and until you kind of get a macro view of how to do this, this is aisle by aisle. But I'm wondering if there's a way that you can do this. Like, is there like RFID tags that detect motion of a can that's cheap enough, right? So that they're tenths or hundredths of pennies to
potentially, yes. I mean, I don't know what the costs are around this yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to these guys, but I would think it's not that expensive at this point now. I think that technology has come down significantly around this, and the way they're doing it today, obviously, this is in pilot modes. They've been testing with Walmart, they've been testing with Heineken and others. But ultimately, if the model is successful, what will happen is the technology will just be built into the shelving itself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it becomes part of the way, when Walmart goes out and buys its new retail shelving, they're going to buy shelving that already has this stuff.
Gotcha.
So it becomes a smart shelf. It's not, something that we have to bolt on, for every aisle and every this and that. So, for me, that's how it evolves based on success, obviously. And who knows?
Yeah,
at this point.
that's an interesting thing, right? Is that as retail changes completely, and we often talk about this. Our first story was about Pinterest and Nordstrom, and the fact that Nordstrom was leveraging Pinterest and not the other way around. But as retail changes and the structure of a store changes, and the psychology of buying changes, and what influences us change, and the fact that we can make decisions in the store and all the time, we're always deciding on product whether we're going to buy or not. We're doing all the research from the device. All this has a huge impact on the way a store is laid out, even today. And they're trying to adjust it, but they're not doing a great job of it because you used to buy, have a premium for the eye level shelves, but now you can influence a low shelf or a high shelf buy based on an app or something like that. So all of this is playing into this, and it's very interesting how they can influence buy decisions based on this stuff. So who knows what a shelf looks like in 5 years from now? Yeah. But certainly the technology, it's interesting that you think about that, is that it's not the store that interacts with you, it's the shelf. And the shelf is the technology conduit for all of these things and all the products, and it's done by weight or sensors or whatever it might be. But we're just entering this era of unfreaking believable. That's kind of like the tagline of what's happening in retail, and especially with the technology.
Oh, I love this.
Opportunity is huge.
It's nice to see that. For me, I've always been a proponent. When I first saw Connect and I started playing with it and all that kind of stuff. The wow factor was one thing, but from a gaming perspective, that was interesting. But for me, if I was running Microsoft, I'd sit there and go, forget about the mobile phone. Like, we lost that, just like BlackBerry lost that. That's done. It's an Android, iOS world.
Right now it is.
So, but the one thing Microsoft had was this Connect thing that I saw was, for me was, the commercial applications around that stuff like this. And building Connect into digital screens when somebody's standing in front of a screen and being able to change the content on the screen. All that kind of stuff is the future of retail for me, right? All that gesture-based, everything. I don't know.
Well, I see it as well. Like, you're absolutely right. Why aren't they baking the Connect technology into rearview mirrors of cars? So they'll detect. You want to eradicate texting in cars? Do an automatic detect that as my head goes down or my eyes go away or glaze over or I fall asleep, something happens. Instead of putting the divots in the side of the road.
Rob, stop giving all our ideas away. Come on, how are we going to make some money?
Hey, listen, you can donate. Just send us a buck.
Sponsor the show.
Okay, so if you're interested in that, it's Shopperception, like Inception, but Shopperception.com. Go and take a look at them. Shopperception, interesting technology and interesting application. And if you are entrepreneurial in any way, you will look at this and think, oh my God, I can do this with this and this and this, as we've just spent the last 15 minutes discussing. So Shopperception.com from Argentina. All right, so we're going to go from Argentina. How about up to Germany, right? Up to Germany.
By the way, there's a lot of Germans in Argentina. I don't know what that connection is, but we'll. Anyway,
it might be the climate.
Over to
right?
Germany.
Yeah, over to Germany. Now, I don't know how to say this properly, but I'm going to go with WyWy instead of WyWy because or maybe I should do WyWy because it's funnier. But WyWy working with Vodafone on, I guess, what Vodafone and what they're thinking as the second screen experience around advertising. We may have opposing views of this. Why don't you introduce this, and then we'll have a conversation around this, Asif.
Yeah, so this is a Germany-wide cross-media campaign is what they're calling it for Vodafone. So Vodafone, like any big brand, invests a lot of money in TV commercials. And what's happening here is WyWy. I'll go with that too. They've partnered up with another company called RevCloud, which is a real-time ad bidding platform. And essentially, the way this works is, as you're sitting there watching TV and you've got your tablet or your phone beside you, and you're on a website or whatever you're doing on your mobile device, they built a system that basically can detect what you're watching, that the Vodafone commercial just showed on the television set. And then using the real-time bidding platform through RevCloud, they can then deliver a Vodafone ad onto your mobile device while you're watching TV. So you have this simultaneous advertising experience between two platforms. And it's not app specific, is the way I understand this. So it's not like you have to have a specific app like Shazam or something like that, to engage with the TV. It's real-time bidding across the RevCloud platform. So as long as the apps or the mobile sites or whatever that you're interacting with on your mobile device are part of the RevCloud ecosystem, they can deliver this synchronous ad, if you will, for Vodafone in this case to your mobile device, which is pretty cool.
Do you know if they're displaying the same ad?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a mobile optimized.
So
ad.
It's not like you got the commercial in front of you and then you're going to get the same commercial. So it might just be they're outfitting the page. You'll see a banner ad with that for the ad that you're watching, right? So it complements it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean this must be like, you love this because it's a brand play. Brands are trying to figure out how to extend that relationship from what they call the primary screen, which is the television screen, into that second screen experience, and it becomes a one-directional tool. Television, it's outdated, it's outmoded, it's like a legacy system of broadcast. I shout at you, you listen if you want to watch the rest of the television show. It's an interesting play, and I think that there may be an opportunity here, a short period of opportunity as the advertising world transitions from realizing the fact that television is not the first screen or the primary screen; it is now the secondary screen, and the device that is in front of you or with you at all times is your primary screen, and that is slowly transitioning. People still call it second screen, but I look at the television as a second screen, right? My interactivity happens on the device, not with the television. And I'm very selective about what I interact with or who I interact with. One company's got to come up with a way so that whatever I'm doing on here complements, I get an ad on the television. That is the killer application,
there you go.
Right? Is that, don't broadcast to me.
You gotta watch television, though.
What's that?
Yeah, I said you have to watch television for that.
You know what? Maybe I would. Who knows? But there is.
To be honest, other than sports running in the background while I'm working on TV, which I do all the time.
All the time. Me too.
Most of the TV that I watch now is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Right.
Without ads. Without ads at all.
Yeah, well, in some cases they don't let you skip the ads, right? So you have to sort of fast forward through them.
Well, you can go onto the on demand on Rogers or whatever you're doing, right? It's stopgap, it's gap filler for me, and that's what television is. When I've got a moment of downtime, or else I'm a binge watcher, like with The Walking Dead. It's like I can't get enough of that show. But
Game of Thrones,
right? A lot of people do that, and Arrested Development, and all these ones that came out, like you just binge watch, and there's no time for ads because I got to get them done. I'm on a deadline. But so I'm looking at this as I can understand why WyWy and Vodafone and real-time bidding, so this RevCloud company, and we're trying to figure out how to engage on this. And I get it. But it's like we're taking an existing, an existing legacy service, and we're trying to make it work in this new world. And to me, it doesn't fit. It's like we're still trying to broadcast. And I think that what you really should be doing is looking at this device as the primary screen and figuring out how you can get this to you enable conversation and also broadcast out to the television. I know it's next to impossible to do that, but that is because this way of unidirectional broadcasting out from the television screen and then trying to get that message on a device inadvertently without anybody's interest. I'm not interested in the ad most of the time, right? It doesn't really, it's not targeted to me. It's not tailored to me. So turn that around and look at it from the device outwards, and it's going to change people's perspective on what that television can do. And if there's a way to do that, man, I am all for that. I believe in that because this knows more about me.
For me, one of the simple things that, I wish we had, and we don't yet is, like if I've downloaded something or I'm doing something on my phone, right? I'm watching a video on YouTube or whatever it is. I would love to be able to, because of screen size limitations, I'd love to be able to walk up to my TV and just flick it, from my phone onto the TV screen and all of a sudden be consuming that content on a bigger screen.
Well, they do that with Apple TV now, right?
Yeah, no, I know, right? But it's the use cases are so limited today, right? Around that, right? And specific to content too.
Yes. Yep.
So for me, like, the whole idea of projection in a mobile device, I can't wait. I can't wait till I just walk up to a wall and just go like this, and everything off my phone is now on the wall.
Can you imagine what that would do? Like, certainly with this YouTube generation of small indie developed television shows or serials, or even like this show right here that we're producing here, is that this could be the future broadcasting in that mechanism, right? As opposed to actually going to a network. And so I think just like the gas companies, the big gas companies are not going to let rechargeable cars really prosper simply because there's too much at stake. The same thing when I think about the television networks. They're trying to cling on to an old business model and an old revenue model that at some point, just like the newspaper industry, is going to hit them square in the face, and they're going to be like, what happened? And why are we in decline? Why are we going bankrupt? And it's going to be because of, exactly you said, broadcast anywhere from a small screen to any dumb screen, and it's no longer a television broadcaster that makes the money. It's Shazam. It could be guys like WyWy or RevCloud, but it's not going to be the broadcasters.
Yeah.
And that's a bad sign.
All right.
That's a bad sign for content if we're the best you can get. Yeah. All right. So if you're interested, revcloud.net, revcloud.net, or it's either WyWy or WyWy, but it's WyWy.com. Go and check those guys out if you're interested. And I'm interested to see the results from Vodafone. So hopefully we'll be able to find some results. Somebody will do a case study on that. Hint. Maybe see if you should do that.
All right.
Our last story. Oh, Foursquare. Should we even do this story?
I don't know. Every time we talk about Foursquare, it seems to be something negative, and unfortunately, this one hit my radar this week, and I couldn't ignore it. I had to bring it up, and
so we all know Foursquare as this company that started off as a check-in company that invented the check-ins, or pioneered the check-ins, and for a long time in the business world that was their raison d'être. And then they decided that the check-ins weren't sufficient, so they decided to get into the discovery business, which everybody was in. But all the announcements that we've seen over the last number of months have been around check-ins again. And here is another perfect example of a confusing business model where they say we're giving up on the check-ins, we're going into discovery, but then they sign this deal with Deezer, which is they organize concerts, and you get benefit for checking into 7 or more concerts. It's like these guys are so confused about what it is that they do. Like, it's this hand doesn't even know what the fuck is going on with this hand, and they're like, we are discovery. No, we are check-in. We are discovery. We are check-in. It's like boom, boom, boom. And in the meantime, what's happening with their brand is mass confusion. And this is a perfect example of that. And I think I'm being nice right now because I haven't gone off on a total tangent. Like, what is this, Asif? Why in God's name are they doing this?
This is a last-minute gasp for any kind of revenue, brand relationship that they can find. I mean, people are abandoning Foursquare left, right, and center, from what I can tell. I mean, people I knew who were like the biggest Foursquare users, 2 years ago, haven't used it for months and months now. Like, they're getting drop off in users. The brands are sitting there going, why? Why should we bother? Nobody cares about badges. Nobody ever cared about badges. And here we have we're back to check-ins again. In this, as you rightly alluded to here with this Deezer thing, and even this specific partnership here is you got to check into 7 concerts. 7 concerts to get free content? Like, give me a break, people.
It's like $500.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to do that, right?
I don't get it.
And Deezer's, I don't get it. I mean, the use case, this specific use case is just ridiculous. Like, I can't see, anybody doing this.
Who came up with 7 concerts? Like 7.
I hope Foursquare is getting paid something for this, because this is, like if it's based on actual activity and users, like they better be getting a lump sum payment on this one, because this is just.
Well, I think of the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and this is a very connected sports facility, and they've got their own applications, and the Brooklyn Nets play there as a basketball team, and they've got their own application, and they work simultaneously. They work so well together that it's like when you're in the Barclays Center and you launch your Nets app, it gives you all of the Barclays stuff around it, and when you're at home, it doesn't give you all that stuff, and when you're in the Barclays Center and a Nets game is on, and you launch the Barclays Center app, it gives you all the Nets stats and stuff. It works so well together. It's like intertwined, and it's like, and that kind of immersive experience. I will use something like that inside of a venue, a store, or a concert, or a sports facility. But I will not use Foursquare if they force me to check in 7 times to get any benefit. There's no value for anybody in any of this. When I'm there, I want value immediately. Give me something then there. Start selling me some merchandise. Start selling me tickets. Allow me to download the song that's playing over the air. Allow me to download the live version of this. What they're doing is they're just jamming this old business model into a ridiculous offering, and if this is the best they can do, God,
but even the specifics of this don't make sense to me. I mean, it's like they're trying to make an argument that people who spend money and go to concerts, are the right target market for Deezer's subscription service.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And so if you go to 7 concerts, we're going to give you a 3-month free subscription service. Whoopee, like, $30.
I know.
It's $10 a month. So I'm going to spend $500 to go to concerts to get a $30.
Yeah. So we should explain. We should explain that Deezer is like an RDO service, right? So they don't organize the concerts. They're just a music provider. And
yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense from a metrics perspective. Now, I mean, content as a reward for doing something is a great.
It is.
Right. Giving you a piece of music for checking in somewhere or whatever, but don't make people jump through hoops.
Give me a live version. Give me a recording of the live version of the show.
Yeah. Give me something, right? I got a story I'm going to talk about next week that's really cool that Unilever's been doing around, actually delivering content with almost no hurdle in a very, very cool brand experience. So stay tuned for that one next week. But,
the opposite of this.
Yeah.
Well, I've had some experience with Foursquare, and I've tried to pass them on relationships, and the hubris is still there, regardless of what everybody thinks. Is that the hubris is there, and they turn down business, and I just scratch my head quite often. Is that they feel that they can do it all, and clearly whoever's making these decisions is not making the right decisions at this point, because they're confusing their brand, if they still do have a brand. And we're not alone here. When I listen to guys like Leo Laporte and his entire Twit network, is that they question the validity of this business from the get-go, and they're still questioning it 2.5 years, 3 years later, and we certainly are. And but nobody's proven us wrong. Nobody's come out. Nobody from Foursquare has defended this and saying this is what our strategy is. So in that instance, we go with a vacuum of knowledge, which they might have, but we don't have as the media and the people who comment on this. And when we see announcements like this, we just get frustrated, because this is not what they talk about it over here, and then they display with this. And this is not a business that they're making here. And who's going to spend $500 on 7 concerts to get $30 worth of free music? And boy, and there's no value there. So if you're still interested in this, well, good luck. Enjoy the 7 shows. That's what we'll say. Or you could just spend $5 a month on RDO and not have to go to the shows.
There you go. Done.
We always end on the Foursquare. Those are the 6 stories. Great guest, Linden Skeens from Thumbvista. We got one more piece of business, which is this great resource. Here is, it's just titled Location-Based Marketing. And if you have never heard of this, if you have no comprehension of what location-based marketing is, or you want to start somewhere, this is a pretty incredible infographic, right? This is like 101.
Yeah, it is, and there's still a lot of people out there who, we live and breathe this stuff every day, every week. But there's still a lot of people who are just coming into location-based marketing. So here's an infographic. It's up on the LBMA site under THWiLBM.com/research. You can grab it there. It's the latest resource there under the research tab. It's 101. It's got 30% of marketers are using mobile coupons. $22 billion was spent on mobile advertising last year. Compared to $3 billion in 2010, I mean, it's got some interesting numbers in here, it's all there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like is the tactics that they give at the end. So they talk about mobile optimized website, social media integration, Google Places. It tells you just kind of like do these things, just one thing, right? So mobile optimized website.
Start here.
Go here.
Yeah.
Put your business in places. Go here. Do a branded hashtag if you so choose. Do offers, even do check-ins. Although I don't agree, and localized content is very important as well. So they give you these kind of 8 different things or 9 different things that they go and do this right away. And I think that this is a very good start. And it's only a start. This is not by any means the end of your location and your mobile or your marketing strategy. This is the beginning, but you should be doing these things. So kudos. Yeah. So TheLBMA.com/research. And this is, I guess, just labeled location-based marketing. So,
yes.
Yeah. So that was it. Our resource, 6 stories, Linden Skeens, a little bit of an app observation around GPS, and we are out of time.
Yes.
That's it.
But we will be back next week. I will be broadcasting live from the golf course. No.
You should. We should just go out on a cart and we'll do it.
Overlooking the golf course like I do every year. We will do that. There's some great stories coming up next week. I already got couple really, really cool things to talk about, and looking forward to it.
And if you have any questions, I tell you, go to untether.tv/talk. Leave us a voicemail. We will answer that question on the air live. If you want to do that, just go to untether.tv/talk. If you'd like to leave a comment about any of these stories as well, that is the place to do it. And if you would like to participate in one of these episodes as a guest, reach out. We would love to have you on. If you'd like to sponsor the show, of course, we would welcome that as well. Reach out any way you want. You can find me at robin@untether.tv, Asif at thelbma.com. We are all over Twitter. We are all over Facebook. We are all over LinkedIn. We are completely and totally findable. Do so, and we will respond almost immediately. Almost immediately. Even Asif from the golf course will respond at that point. But please reach out if there's anything that we can do. And with that, that's it. We'll see you next week for episode number 138 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Thanks for sticking around. Asif, enjoy your vacation, man.
Thanks.
See you next week.